What's up, everybody on YouTube? AJ Russ back here with another video, and today I'll be sharing with y'all my predictions for the 2022-23 NBA season. Alright guys, so before I hop into this video, I want to explain what I'm doing in this video. I'm not going to predict every single award, every single matchup, playoff matchup, and everything like that, but I'm going to predict some different things and maybe some hot takes or things like that, but just stuff about my opinion for this upcoming season. It's going to be an interesting year. So many superlatives happening, so many different things that could possibly unfold. A lot of new healthy teams coming into the unfold. Zion coming back, the Clippers getting healthy, just so many teams to list. So I just want to talk about some of the things that I feel like will happen this season. So with that being said, let's hop into the video. My first prediction is that the Golden State Warriors will not repeat as champions for the 2023 NBA season. Honestly, I really don't think that's a wild or hot take, but some people may disagree. Before you all say, this has nothing to do with Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. Also, a side note, personally, if I was Jordan Poole, I would not be able to take that. I would need to get my leg back ASAP. But yeah, honestly, it really doesn't have too much to do with that. I mean, you can say that it has something to do with the teammate chemistry and camaraderie and things of that nature, but I mean, the Golden State Warriors, they have championship DNA. They've been there plenty of times with a similar core. Obviously, they have different pieces and parts now. Have James Wiseman returning this year, but I mean, for the most part, that's not going to change things. You still have Steph, you have Draymond, you have Clay, you even have Andre Iguodala returning for his last season. So really, things are going to be the same there. Honestly, the point behind me saying that the Warriors won't repeat is because looking at the league and the landscape, not only in the Western Conference, but in the Eastern Conference as well, I mean, I don't think that they'll repeat. I mean, they can obviously make the finals again, and of course, I could be wrong about this statement, but I don't think I'm wrong about this. For example, the Los Angeles Clippers, I mean, this is a huge if, but if healthy, they have Kawhi Leonard, who's a top 3 player in the league when healthy. I mean, I don't even think that's a debate, honestly. Not only the Clippers, but you have the Denver Nuggets as well, who is returning Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. The New Orleans Pelicans, who of course have Zion back, who's looking lean, back in shape, and of course Brandon Ingram, a bucket, CJ McCollum, and just a nice group overall. And you just have multiple teams out there in the West. So I mean, I just think that there's a lot of things that could go on. The Grizzlies as well. Just there's a lot of teams to mention. So, I mean, obviously the Warriors, they can make the finals again. They can win the finals again, but I just don't think it's likely. Of course, you have Steph Curry, arguably the greatest point guard of all time. Not arguably. This is a fact. Easily the greatest shooter of all time. But then you also have Klay Thompson, who's also, in my opinion, the second, third best shooter of all time. But he's also, he looked a little bit iffy last season, obviously coming off of 2 injuries, missing 2 seasons. So, of course, no one can knock him for that. He's still working his way back. So, I mean, I feel like if Klay gets back to his form, how he was before the injury, or even better, I think that they can make some noise, but I don't know. And then Draymond Green, of course, I mean, he's perfect for the Warriors system, but I just don't think that the Warriors are just going to be back there. I mean, they can be back in the finals, but I just don't think they'll have enough this upcoming season. Now, for me, this prediction really is something that people should see writing on the wall. Honestly, the Phoenix Suns for the past couple of years, I mean, they've overachieved expectations in terms of the 2021 season, making the finals, even though they lost to the Bucks in 6. And then last year, I mean, that was not exceeding expectations, I guess regular season-wise, but in the playoffs, getting killed by Luka and the Mavericks in the second round in that Game 7, oh my goodness. We don't need to talk about that. But the prediction is that I think the Phoenix Suns will lose in the first round, and I think that this will be Chris Paul's last season in Phoenix. It's really crazy, bro, because in those last 5 games against the Dallas Mavericks, once Chris Paul turned 37, really everything went downhill. He averaged 9 points per game, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds in the final 5 games against the Mavericks. I mean, now, obviously, you can say that that's typical for any 37-year-old, but Chris Paul isn't just a normal 37-year-old. He's a future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards this game has seen, and he averaged 14 and 10 last year. So to see him go to 9 and 5 in the playoffs, I mean, it was just devastating to see. So honestly, I do think that this will be his last season in Phoenix. Now, obviously, I probably sound crazy because he just re-upped on that new contract in 2021, and let me explain that real quick. Shout out to Sports Illustrated for this information. I was able to see some things about Chris Paul's contract. So in this upcoming season in 2023, he's going to make $28.4 million guaranteed, and then in 2024, he's getting $15.8 million guaranteed. And then in 2024-25, it's supposed to be $30 million, but none is guaranteed. So he signed that contract in 2021 for 4 years, $120 million. So, I mean, after this next season, really after 2024, but even after this season, like I'm saying, Phoenix could work out a buyout or something like that. Of course, it's going to be expensive, and they're already in the luxury tax, but they can end up working out a buyout to potentially get Chris Paul out of there. Because, I mean, at this point next season, at this time, just say going into the 2024 season, he'll be 38 years old. Bro, like, he doesn't fit the timeline. Now, regardless of what you want to say about DeAndre Ayton still being there or not wanting to be there, I mean, your star is Devin Booker. And he's 26, well, about to be 26 years old at the end of this month in October. So I feel like you need a backcourt mate who's going to be around his age, around going into his prime, a young guard who can be a superstar as well, or at least a star that works alongside Devin Booker. Now, some potential landing spots, of course, for Chris Paul. Everybody's going to say the Lakers and things like that. I mean, really, just somewhere like that. But, I mean, going back to the Suns not making past the first round, I want to talk about that more because, I mean, I think I made my point about Chris Paul not being there. I mean, the Suns, I mean, I think their window has closed, bro. Like I said, they won those 2 games in the finals against the Bucks when it looked like they were going to win, and they basically got swept after that because they lost 4 straight against the Bucks. And then last year, they laid an egg against the Dallas Mavericks after having 60-plus wins in regular season just to lose in the second round like that. Like, that's pretty wild. So I feel like it's closed. I mean, like I said earlier, you have teams coming back healthy like the Nuggets. Of course, the Warriors want to repeat again. And then you have the Clippers. You have different tough teams. The West is going to be tough. You have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, they don't have that deep of a bench, but they have Cat and Gobert in their front court. I mean, that's going to be devastating to play against. And then, of course, they have Ant Edwards as well. So there's just a lot of teams in the West, and I feel like the Suns' window is closed. They could win 1,000,000 games in the regular season. I mean, I still feel like they'll lose in the first round. And this isn't even a knock against the Phoenix Suns. Like, Devin Booker has literally been one of my favorite players since I was in the 8th grade, like for 6-7 years now. So it's no bias a part of this. Like, I just think that their window is closed. Now, this next prediction, I don't think I'm falling off a limb with this one because really, I think that this is a favorite pick. And really, for the past 2 to 3 years, it's been a consistent pick for MVP. But anyways, I have Luka Doncic winning the 2023 MVP. Since entering the league in 2018, Luka has obviously taken the league by storm. In his rookie year, averaging 21-6. Then, of course, in 2020, 28-8. And then in his third season, 27-9. And then last year in 2022, averaging 28-9. Like, it's literally crazy. Like, he's averaging 26-8 for his career total right now. And then this year, I feel like he can potentially even average 30-10 because, like, he's really that dude, man. Like, and now that he has someone like Christian Woods from that they acquired from the Houston Rockets, potentially as a big, obviously we thought that him and Porzingis would work out, but maybe we can see what we thought Porzingis and Luka would be with Christian Wood and Luka, a pick and pop big who can get a bucket. Now, he's obviously not the best defender, but I feel like that'll be a pretty solid duo. And then they still have some of the similar players they had in last year's team, and obviously they made the Western Conference Finals. Now, I'm not sure if they'll make it that far again because, you know, the West is tough, but I mean, if you have a superstar like Luka, I mean, anything is possible. Then having returning players like Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Davis Bertans, who they actually acquired in that Wizards trade when they traded away Porzingis. He's a really good shooter, so I feel like he's great for them. Spencer Dinwiddie, one of the best, like, backup point guards, but even if you start him, like, he's really good, can get a bucket as well. And also, they're returning Tim Hardaway Jr., bro. Like, he was injured, obviously, last year in the playoffs and everything, and for a while, but, man, Tim Hardaway Jr. is actually pretty underrated in my opinion. Like, he makes some difficult shots, too, bro. So, hey, anything's possible. Of course, it has Maxi Kleber, who's always been solid for them. And they also have JaVale McGee, which, regardless of what people say, he's always been solid for them. Like, he's won a championship with the Warriors for a reason. He's a great big that you want to have on your team. Like, he's a great shot blocker. Well, a good shot blocker for sure. A solid shot blocker, and also is very athletic. And then they also have a rookie named Jaden Hardy, who was really solid in the summer league too. I remember watching his highlights in high school and stuff like that. Man, he can be really dynamic for the Mavericks too. So, like, he can be someone who just provides instant energy, a little boost for sure, even like a 6-man type of role. Like, for him, like, that would be nice. And then, of course, getting Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets. So I feel like Luka can definitely lead this team to being a top 4 seed and for sure being an MVP, averaging something like 30-10, 28, 29-10, bro. Like, Luka, I mean, like, even 2 years ago, we were speculating him to be the MVP. It's really like a storyline type of award. So it's so many narratives that, you know, transform around that award throughout the season. But I feel like Luka, it's his time, and I feel like he'll get multiple throughout his career. I don't even think that's controversial at all to say. So, yeah, most definitely have Luka Doncic winning the 2023 MVP. This is probably another prediction that's maybe a little bit controversial, but, I mean, we don't stir away from controversy. Hey, I'm here for it. So if I disagree, let me know in the comments down below. But I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves will make the second round for sure. Like, The Minnesota Timberwolves, I mean, obviously, I don't think they have much of a bench. Actually, they don't have much of a bench. But the front court that they have, of course, acquiring Rudy Gobert in that trade with the Jazz, and then now, of course, having Karl-Anthony Towns as a power forward. So that's a tough front court right there. And then you have Anthony Edwards, who is continuing to ascend and rise and get better each and every year. I think he's going to be an all-star this year. I think that the Timberwolves, they are for sure going to make the second round. And if they don't, I mean, it's really disappointing. They, of course, still have, D'Angelo Russell as well, who's going to be their starting point guard. He's always been, I don't know, he's always been above average, and he always has his moments. I feel like he should be, at least, all-star level every year, but he always deals with, some type of injuries, and just sometimes, I feel like he doesn't play as hard as he wants to, but I mean, having D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, now they have Kyle Anderson as well. You can put him in at the starting three. That would be a nice little starting lineup, of course, with Cat and Rudy Gobert. I mean, that's a nice five. But then their bench is very light. I mean, Jaden McDaniels, he's solid as well. So he's someone solid to have on your team. But then when you start looking, I mean, man, it's very light. They have Taurean Prince. I mean, he's solid too. Nas Reed, he's okay. Austin Rivers, they traded for him. I mean, he has his moments. But, in terms of being one of the best benches in the league, the Timberwolves do not have that at all. I mean, really, I feel like they just have to be good enough. I mean, they also have Bryn Forbes, who he's been solid too. Of course, he played with the Spurs in the past. And then I believe he played with the Nuggets too, but I might be wrong on that. But he was always solid with the Spurs, I remember, somewhat. So he could provide some offense for them. But, I mean, I feel like if you have, a starting five, you have a Cat, Gobert, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and Kyle Anderson, I mean, hey, you should be able to make the second round, bro. I'm not saying that they're going to make the finals, which, no, I'm not that down bad, or even making the conference finals. But I think they should for sure make the second round. I mean, you have one of the best shot-blocking bigs in the NBA in Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, he's arguably the best shooting big. I mean, he said it last year, and I was like, I don't know about that, but he went and won a three-point contest, and then he's always been almost a superstar throughout his career. I mean, dealt with injuries, and sometimes, just maybe 1-2 type of things, when Jimmy Butler was on the team and Andrew Wiggins. But, I mean, I feel like they should be really good, and I think Anthony Edwards is a budding superstar. So, yeah, I think if the Timberwolves don't make the second round, that'll be a failure in my opinion. So I for sure have them making the second round, and they can potentially even be a top 5, the 4 seed. Like I said, a lot of these teams, they win a lot in the regular season, but when the playoffs comes, I mean, we see that there's levels to it. So, but I think that the Timberwolves will for sure make the second round. Now I have a few more predictions I want to share. I don't want the video to be too long, but I mean, we love talking about basketball, hoops. Love hooping, so I mean, hey, we can tend to lose track of time, but it's all good, man. So there's a few names that I've been wanting to predict for this particular award. The most improved player for the 2023 season. There's a lot of names that we could talk about. I mean, obviously, I just got done talking about Anthony Edwards. He could take a huge leap like he did last year. Obviously, someone else that I was thinking about is Tyrese Halliburton, who the Kings, who make stupid decisions, traded last year. He's a really dynamic guard. But I don't think the Pacers will be good. They're the definition of mediocre, so I don't know about him. But last year, this player in particular made a leap, and I think he's going to even take another leap and potentially be the second best player on the Philadelphia 76ers, and that is Tyrese Maxey. I have him winning the 2023 most improved player. Now, if you look at Tyrese Maxey's averages in the regular season last year, they're not the most impressive, but they are a big jump from his rookie year. Now, in his rookie season in 2021, he only averaged 8 points and 2 assists, but then last year in 2022, he averaged 17 and 4, but that's not the most impressive. But let's talk about the playoffs. That's really where he really got a lot of buckets. In this last season's playoffs, Tyrese Maxey was able to put on a shooting clinic, really. He had a 37% shooting range from the three-point line, and then also just regular field goal percentage, he shot 48%, almost 50% in his second year, bro. That was really good. And then in the Raptors series in the first round, he had a 38-point game, basically almost a 40 ball. And then against the Miami Heat, even though the Philadelphia 76ers lost that series, he had a 34-point game against them, just showing a lot of flashes. He was able to knock down threes. I know one game he went 5 for 6 from 3, and he has shown the ability to truly become a microwave when he gets hot, when he gets cooking. I think James Harden being there with Tyrese is really helping him. Obviously James Harden has been touted as a controversial teammate from his time from Houston and even Brooklyn, but I feel like Tyrese is getting the best out of that, and even applying some moves to his bag. Tyrese is a nice finisher in the lane. Like I said, very crafty. He can shoot as well. Solid playmaker. So I feel like him, James Harden, Joel Embiid, and then obviously they've acquired some solid guys in free agency like PJ Tucker Tucker, who was in Houston, of course, Daniel House as well. And of course they still have Tobias Harris, who, has been talked about controversially for not, living up to his contract as much on the 76ers. But I think that the 76ers, they can make some noise in the East. And I think that Tyrese Maxey, he for sure should be looked as a strong candidate as the 2023 most improved player. And honestly, he's my pick to win most improved player. This is a prediction, but I really don't think it's like even a debate. I mean, you got a lot of solid rookies in this draft. I mean, you have Jabari Smith, of course, his third pick in Houston, arguably the best shooting big man that was in the draft. You got Jaden Ivey for the Pistons, who we're about to talk about a little bit more in a second. He's nice as well. And Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers also looks good. Shaedon Sharpe with the Blazers. I mean, there's a lot of good rookies that have been drafted this year. But, of course, I'm obviously talking about who I think is going to win Rookie of the Year. And that's, in my opinion, unanimously Paolo Banchero on the Orlando Magic. It's really crazy because Paolo is the last, big-time player that Coach K had because, this was obviously Coach K's last season. But, yeah, Paolo was really that guy. He was the last, big prospect that Coach K sent to the league before retiring. Not only that, but they also were able to make the Final Four, too. So, it really shows Paolo's impact on the team. Now, we can't get too stat-happy when talking about Paolo's stats from college because, college is such a different game. Way more team-oriented, but he was still able to average 17 and 8 and even 3 assists. That's not the most assists, but, it's still okay for a power forward. So, but just looking at Paolo's skill set, he's tough. He's really him, 6'10", 250. As a Rockets fan, I'm really disappointed that the Magic really finessed the league, having everyone thinking they were going to take Chet Holmgren or Jabari Smith, but because I thought the Rockets were going to get Paolo, but hey, it all happens for a reason. Paolo, I think he's easily going to win Rookie of the Year. You can just see he's a man amongst boys. When he was playing in college, just dominating, able to get buckets in the paint. He has a nice handle as well at the 4 position. You have to have that now in current NBA. I just really think that he's just going to take the lead by storm. And the Magic aren't really as bad as people think. They have Markelle Fultz, of course, returning, who he actually played solid in the bubble. He's been injured, but he played solid in the bubble. Of course, that was not 2 years ago, but he's solid. They have Jalen Suggs, who they drafted as well last year, just needs to develop more. But I think he had got a little injury in preseason, so we'll see what happens with him. But and they also have Wagner. He's going into his second year. He was a good rookie last year, so I think that Paolo, he really has an okay team around him. Obviously the Magic, they've been very dysfunctional over, pretty much ever since Dwight Howard was traded. But I think Paolo, he is a great centerpiece to have going forward in the future, and I think he's really going to win Rookie of the Year. He can average, in my opinion, something like 19 and 10, 18, 19, or even 20 and 10, or 19, 9, 19 and 8, something like that, and 5 or 4. Paolo, I think he's for sure going to win Rookie of the Year. All right, so now, last but not least, my final prediction is basically going to be my Final Four, for the playoffs this year. The last 2 teams remaining for the Eastern Conference Finals and the last 2 teams remaining for the Western Conference Finals. Now, I'm not about to predict who's going to make the finals or win the finals yet because I'm going to have probably a mid-season video predictions or something like that, or even when the playoffs comes, that's going to be in the playoff predictions video. So I'm not going to share who I think is going to win the finals or even make the finals, but I'm going to share the matchups. And in the Western Conference, I think it's going to be the Los Angeles Clippers against the Golden State Warriors. Now, obviously, I said that prediction about the Warriors not repeating as champions this year, but, that doesn't mean they can't make the finals again, and I think that they'll easily make the Western Conference Finals. it's not easy, but, for them, they've been there. They have championship pedigree, so doing that, and then also they just recently, re-upped Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins for a contract extension, so, their young core is in place for the future for a while. Of course, still having Steph, still having Clay, Draymond, and Clay looked great in the last preseason game the other night against the Nuggets. Oh my gosh, bro. So I think that the Warriors, they're going to for sure make the Western Conference Finals. But also talking about the Clippers, I think that's going to be light work for them as well. Now, obviously with the Clippers, it always depends on health with them. But they obviously have Kawhi Leonard, who's when healthy, like I said earlier, a top 3 player in the league, along with KD and Giannis or LeBron. So I think that they have him. Of course, he can carry them to even winning a championship. Paul George, top 12 to 15 player when healthy, always gets buckets, 6'9", shooting guard. I mean, shooting guard, small forward. I mean, that's so tough. One of the best players in the league still, I think. And then they have, of course, John Wall, who they got from the Houston Rockets in that buyout. And then they have Reggie Jackson, who's been solid for the past few seasons for them. I mean, Reggie Jackson, he's been able to play make a lot and able to score at a solid level as well. They have Luke Kennard, who's one of the best shooters in the league. Of course, Terrence Mann, who's been solid for them the last couple of years. Still have Marcus Morris. They have Nicholas Batum. I mean, they just have a lot of a lot of depth. Like I said, even someone who I think is going to be solid for them and get a lot of potentially a good amount of minutes is Brandon Boston Jr. going into his second season. He was one of the best players in high school and in Kentucky. I mean, he wasn't the best, but I mean, I feel like he's going to be a solid role player for them. And then, like I said, Robert Covington. So, hey, I feel like they have a lot of talent, and of course Norman Powell as well. And then they still have Ivica Zubac. So, hey, the Clippers, you got to watch out for them. But I think for sure that the Los Angeles Clippers and the Golden State Warriors will be the Western Conference Finals. And I think we'll be in for a treat if we get that matchup. Like, I think that's going to go 7 games. For the Eastern Conference, I was struggling with this one because, man, like, the East is really nice. It's really going to be really nice this year. Like, there's a lot of teams that I could have put in this mix. But I think one team that was a lock for sure before I even thought about this video was the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, you have Giannis, man. Giannis, surrounded with a lot of talent. Of course, they won the championship in 2021. They have a lot of good people like Drew Holiday, of course, the best guard defender, in my opinion, in the league. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis. Just a solid team overall, and just more names. I think that the Bucks are for sure going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. But also, man, this is a controversial one, but I just can't not pick them, man. I think that the Brooklyn Nets are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals as well. I mean, I feel like there's not too much to say about the Bucks because, I mean, they're arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference. But talking about the Nets, I mean, they should be as well. But, you know, there's always so many ifs and so many variables with them. But I think this year they're going to get things together. I mean, you have Ben Simmons, who's healthy now. He does everything great but shoot. Great playmaker, great defender. I mean, you just can't shoot. I mean, that's literally it, man. Like, if you look at the Nets throughout the preseason so far, I mean, he's been able to connect with KD and Kyrie. I think that's going to be a nice dynamic. Of course, KD, I mean, when he plays, he's a walking bucket, walking 30-point bucket. Same with Kyrie. I mean, he's always going to get his buckets. I just feel like as long as they play and everyone's good and Gucci, you know, I think that they should make the finals, really, and win a championship. But, you know, there's just so much with them. And they also have a nice amount of depth as well. I think, honestly, their bench is what sold me somewhat, you know, about making the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, they have Steph Curry, of course. When you have a Curry on your team, you're always straight. I mean, their defense probably isn't going to be too dominant. I mean, like I said, you have Ben Simmons, but, like, besides him, I mean, you have some 3-and-D guys. You have Markieff Morris, I think, who's also going to be nice for them. Both Morris brothers, they always produce well and can shoot well and play solid defense. So I think he's going to be good for them. They have Royce O'Neal that came from the Utah Jazz. I think he's solid. Joe Harris, whenever he returns from being healthy, man, he's one of the best shooters in the league. They get him back as soon as possible. I think that's going to be a great dynamic. And also Nick Claxton, he's been solid for them for the past few seasons, man. Just, you know, being one of those players that came in young, a part of the Nets roster. I mean, he's been able to adapt and play with players like KD and Kyrie. So I think they'll be good. And then Cam Thomas, I mean, he's a bucket when he plays. He always makes so many tough shots, but he's not the best defender. So I don't know. I don't know about how much playing time he'll get, but we'll see about him. And then TJ Warren as well. I mean, he had that fluke little performance in the bubble. I mean, I think he's a solid player, but he's not going to do that what he did. And then they have Patty Mills, of course, who was solid for them last year, just getting older. So I think that the Nets, they'll make the Eastern Conference Finals. Like I said, I'm not predicting the winners of these matchups, but yeah, I think that we'll be in a treat for the Eastern Conference Finals later this season, like around May. So, yeah, in the Eastern Conference, I have the Milwaukee Bucks against the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then in the Western Conference, I have the Los Angeles Clippers against the Golden State Warriors. Let me know in the comments down below some of your predictions for this upcoming season. If you agree with some of mine, if you disagree 1,000%, let me know. We can talk about it, debate about it in the comments. I love y'all watching my videos. I just appreciate the support always. So, like I said, let me know how excited and hyped you are for this upcoming season. The best sport, yes, I said the best sport, NBA basketball, period. The best sport is back. Let's get it. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Swaggy Russ, and also on TikTok at SwaggyRuss02. Just stay tuned for more content. I appreciate the love always. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, guys. I'm gonna keep going, keep posting more content. I love posting videos about sports, pop culture, lifestyle, and everything. So y'all be blessed. I hope all is going well for y'all. Know that you can accomplish anything, and I appreciate your support always. Y'all be blessed.